Hey everyone! Hello, hello, hello! Hey guys, welcome in. My name is Bridget Parker and I cover all things true crime here on YouTube, Periscope, and DLive. I hope everyone's having a good day. It is Saturday. Oh, let me fix this. It is Saturday at 12 p.m. here in Australia. Welcome in Jay Suarez, TTNZ, Scott, Jack's mum, Gal B, Faithful One, Kathy Suda. And thank you, Jay Suarez, for joining memberships. So if you're over on YouTube, you can actually join memberships and you get to use all of these little cute stickers that I worked at yesterday and made. There's stickers, there's emojis of, let me look at them. There's one of Huxley, my rabbit, Daisy, my rabbit. There's one that says I have questions because I say that a lot. There's a little magnifying glass. There's one that Making Racket made for me with a bunny in a mug that has RS for Respectful Stalker. That's what we call ourselves. And then there's a little emoji I made that says grab your popcorn. Hey, Earthbound Spirit. So if you remember, you can use those emojis. I also made badges for our Respectful Stalker members, and there's all these cool little features that you get behind the scenes stuff. There will be some behind the scenes stuff that happens later on today that only members will know about and see as well. So yeah, if you've got a couple of spare dollars a month, you can join in. One of our what's the word for it? In perks is that you get a all things true crime hand stamped keyring. And Samantha Jane, you need to send me an email so I can send you out yours because your level has that as a perk. So I hope everyone's doing well. Things have been crazy here. I was planning to go live earlier in the week, but for the last week, we've actually had a brand new roof being installed. And because I don't have a microphone, I'm just using my Mac, you wouldn't have been able to hear me. It was so, so loud. So that's why I haven't been live. With the microphone situation, I'm done with Blue, the company, and the Yeti microphones. We're on microphone number 5. So I will have a new microphone mid-June. So until then, I feel like we could do some lives and do this sort of take on things. What we're going to do is cover cases. They're cases that are closed or solved. Maybe some unsolved, we'll see. But I'm going to move away from doing current cases for a couple of reasons. I don't like the way that current cases are being covered. I personally am not comfortable with all of the speculation, the Facebook groups that are created. I don't like the path that it's going down. For me, when I look at it now, it looks like it's being used as a form of entertainment, and for me, that's not what it is. I'm interested in true crime. I'm a true crime enthusiast, but I'm not interested in the rumors that can really hurt and harm the people involved in these crimes. So I'm not saying that I'll never do that, but I'm going to focus on cases that you may not have heard of or cases that you may know a little bit about, but we're going to get to the sort of the meat of the cases. So I hope that's okay with you guys. And I just want to make it clear that for everyone that just be careful what you post on social media and you say, because sometimes people take all of this as fact when it's all rumors, and it can actually really jeopardize a case, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, let me look at Streamlabs. Moving on from that, we did have some bunny drama. So people were asking about the bunnies, and then we'll get stuck into the case. So try Streamlabs now, guys. Hey, Faithful One. Please share this out, guys. I don't think people got notifications, maybe because I did a video earlier today. So if you could share this on social, that would be great. 2 Saturdays ago, I rescued a 6 to 8 week old baby bunny a wild baby bunny, and unfortunately he had a sore paw. It was a weekend full of me taking him to the vets and monitoring him, and then one morning he woke up and I knew that something was wrong with him. Hey, the glare. Unfortunately, that bunny had myxomatosis, which is incredibly, which is just, it's a death sentence. So unfortunately, that meant that my bunnies were exposed to it, even though I'd quarantined them. It's been a pretty stressful 2 weeks, but good news is they're fine. We've gone through the incubation period and everything's great. Straight after this stream, I will be going and rescuing another bunny. So fingers crossed that that bunny is doing okay. So yeah, I'm doing crime and rescuing bunnies at the same time. Oh, and I think it's just started raining. Alrighty, let's get into the case today. Today the case is the case of Sophie Lionnet, which this is a French-English case. The Sophie is French, and so are the 2 people that you see on the screen, Sabrina and Hussein. But this happens in London, in Wimbledon, actually. So I have some interesting stuff. This case is really crazy. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until a couple of days ago, and then I fell down a rabbit hole. Yeah, my bunnies are fine. They're good. They're good. So let's have a little look. So Sophie that you see on the bottom of the screen in the blue top, she was 20 when we start setting the scene of this crime. Sabrina Couder is 35 and Wissam Medini is 40. Streamlabs is still not working. Okay, let me try again. One more time and then I'm going to just leave it for the day because I don't want to get too sidetracked. All right. Let's see if it works now. Email. Yeah, that poor foster bunny. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much because it'll just make me really upset. And then I had another foster bunny at the same time. It was, let's try one more time. It was horrible, to be perfectly honest with you. A lot of anxiety. All right, well, I don't think Streamlabs is working, so we'll just leave that for today. It's fine. I've signed in and out. Oh, now it is. Call me a liar. Okay, let's go back to the case. I want to stay on this case and tell you the whole story together. Okay, so we have Sabrina, Hussein. They live in Wimbledon. They're a pretty affluent family. They live in a very affluent area. If you've heard of Wimbledon before, it's because that's where the tennis tournament is held every year, although unfortunately it's not happening this year because of COVID. So Sophie lives in France and she's 20 and she lives in a sort of poor area and she decides that she wants to explore, learn some more English and see where the possibilities of life can take her. So she finds a site that has different families you can au pair for, which is another way of saying being a nanny. And I actually, when I was about that age myself, actually almost went over to England and did the same thing. Kind of glad I didn't do that after hearing this story. So the great thing is that Sophie feels comfortable because Sabrina and Hussam are also French, so she can speak to them in French whilst she's learning English as well. So Sophie moves over to London in January of 2016. She goes over there and she nannies for 2 children. The youngest child is 4 and is from both children are from previous relationships, and the youngest child is from her former partner, Mark Walton, and he was the founder of a boy band. We love a good boy band. The boy band was Boyzone, which if you're in England, you'll know exactly who that is. Hey, Emily. So Sabrina and Mark's relationship was great at first, love at first sight, very Hollywood romance movie, but it didn't end very well. Mark ended it, and Sabrina sort of became very toxic and very stalker like. She would ring the police and make complaints about things that he were doing, which were completely fabricated, and wouldn't leave him alone, and was causing a lot of problems for Mark. The police actually gave her a warning and said, you need to stop this or he's probably going to sue you, because she was trying to make out that he was being abusive towards their child together, which was completely false. So she is a makeup artist and hairstylist, and she has worked for a couple of celebrities, and she's sort of in that social scene as well. She's a very big social butterfly. And Hussein, who's also known as Sam, he is a banker and does pretty well for himself financially. So how I want to tell the story is I want to take you to a date and then build back up to it. So the date I want to take you to is the 20th of September in 2017, so almost 3 years ago. And a neighbor of this couple noticed a lot of smoke outside that smells really, really strange. And she's really concerned because at that home there are 2 young children and, the 3 adults. So she calls 999, which is 911 or 000, an emergency number over in England. The fire brigade come out and casually knock on the door, which is kind of seems weird to me. And Wasim opens the door, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, everything's fine. I'm just barbecuing a chicken out the back." And the firefighters are like, "Well, that's a lot of smoke for barbecuing a chicken. Do we think that, can we have a look, because something isn't right?" So they take them outside to the patio. Let me show you a photo of the patio. So this is the patio coming up on your screen. So it just looks like, it's in London, they're very tight spaces with the houses, and it's just like a little area. They look at the barbecue and they see that, yeah, he is in fact barbecuing chicken. And I actually have another photo of that. Let's see where I had it up. Guess I didn't. But the problem is that there's also another fire that's burning, and it doesn't have chicken on it. Here we go. So this is the chicken that's burning, but there's also another fire. And the fire brigade say, "Well, what's burning on that fire?" And he says, "Oh, I'm just cooking lamb. It's just lamb." So they're casually chatting away when one of the firefighters goes and looks at the fire that's got this really black, thick smoke. And he looks into the fire and he sees fingers and a nose in the fire. And he sort of raises the alarm and says, "There's a body in here." And they actually get the police to come out, obviously, and Wissam is arrested because he was burning a body. It wasn't lamb. He continues with the lamb story for a little while, but I don't think that's going to get him anywhere. So he maintains he's cooking lamb, and Sabrina isn't home at the time, and he's not talking, so they decide to bring Sabrina in and see what she says. She claims that she doesn't know anything that's going on. She was at the park with her kids, and completely oblivious to everything. They ask her, "Where is your au pair? Where is your nanny?" And she conveniently says, "Oh, 2 days ago she left. She quit, or she was fired, and she left 2 days ago. She's back in France." And so, of course, they have red flags that go up. Now, as the police are investigating the scene and looking through the fire, they find the remains of obviously a human body, a pair of glasses, a bracelet, and some clothes. They take those items and show the glasses to the neighbors. And they're like, I wonder if you, because they don't know who this body is. And one of the neighbors says, well, those glasses really look like Sophie, the au pair's glasses. And then they look at the bracelet and one of the neighbors says, well, yeah, Sophie wore that bracelet as well. So they're thinking, okay, this is probably Sophie in here. She probably didn't leave 2 days ago, like they said. And with time following, after the autopsy is done, and it is identified, it is Sophie. They can't find a definitive cause of death. It could have been several things. So these are some of the injuries she had. She had water in her lungs. She had multiple fractures to her jaw and her body, fractures to her legs, fractures to her sternum, and several broken ribs. Now, with your sternum, I found out that it's actually quite hard to break. So in order to do that, you have to put a lot of force to it. So that was actually a real concern. The medical examiner's like, wow, that's actually broken. So they decide to charge both Sabrina and Hussein of murder of Sophie. But I'm sure that some of you are probably wondering, well, why Sabrina? She wasn't there when he was burning the body. Well, it's actually because Sabrina implicated herself. She decided to start talking. It goes a bit. The story that she tells is just insane. She claims that she wasn't involved in the crime, and that Sophie was a really horrible au pair. She was really lazy. She never did anything, and that she felt like she worked for Sophie, not the other way around. She said that most of the time Sophie would sit on the couch and wanted us to serve her, that Sophie was a drunk and that she stole from them. Sabrina continues to talk, and she claims that the reason that Sophie died is because Sophie was having an affair with her ex-partner Mark. You know, the boy band guy who, you know, obviously has some fame. And Sabrina says that she found Sophie and Mark in bed together. And that she also claims that Sophie would, this is just insane, guys. She claims that Sophie would take the youngest child, the 4-year-old, to Mark's home so that Mark could assault this child. This is what Sabrina states Sophie said and that Sophie would do. The nanny, the one that's in charge of looking after the children. This is what Sabrina claims. She says that Sabrina says that she told Hussein of what was happening with Mark and the child, and he was so mad that he hit her, and when he hit her, she fell and died, and because of that, they didn't know what to do, so they burned her body. He says, well, yes, that's exactly what happened. So he basically admits to the killing, which is just crazy. Now, Sabrina backs all of this up by saying, this is all the way that it happened. I can prove this because Sophie wrote a confession of this happening. So apparently, Sabrina presents this to the family, to the police, and it's a written confession from Sophie Lionnet. And it says, Mark Walton asked me to come and see him. He started to touch my breasts and kissed me on the neck. Mark offered me some money and asked me to come back with Sabrina's youngest child. So this is the story. This is the insane tale that Sabrina tells. But the fact is that it's completely fake. The police speak to Mark Walton, and he is so forthcoming and helpful. He gives his passport, he gives passwords to all of his accounts so that they can verify that he's never spoken to the person. Hey, Ray D. He's never spoken to Sophie. He's never had any contact with her, and that this story is completely false. So I need to tell you all, guys, that Mark Walton is completely innocent, and the stories that Sabrina's trying to create about him are just fake. They're not real at all. So let's take these photos off and put these ones back up. But it gets worse, guys. It gets worse. There's my other. Yeah, it's bad, Kathy. Real bad. Okay. So police are able to prove that the story is nothing is accurate at all. The police then do their investigation, and this is what we find out about the life that Sophie was living. She arrives in January 2016, and from then she's put to work. She works 80 hours a week with minimal pay. Sabrina takes Sophie's passport off her, and her phone is also taken off her as well. If Sophie wants to call anyone, she has to use Sabrina's phone, and Sabrina's next to her and listening into the call. And obviously, because they can both speak French and English, she can understand both. Now, a lot of people would probably think, well, wouldn't Sophie's family and friends think that something was up if that was happening? Apparently, Sabrina was really, really great at manipulating family into thinking everything was fine. So the family didn't have any concerns, even in the last 6 weeks of Sophie's life, which we're about to learn were pure hell. She was still speaking to her family during this 6 weeks, and they didn't have any idea. They didn't think what was going to happen. They didn't know what was going to happen would be this insane. Before that, we do find out that a friend of the family, a restaurateur, Sophie actually confided in him and said that Sabrina had hit her before, and he was worried about her and said, look, I'll get you out if you want me to, but she sort of brushed it off, and he didn't see her again. In fact, no one really saw her for the last 2 months, 6 weeks of her life. So everyone was wondering what happened during that time, and the police have worked out what happened. They imprisoned her in the home. Instead of her going and picking up the kids or taking them to the park and things like that, Sabrina and Hussein did all of that, and Sophie wasn't seen. And the reason she wasn't seen is because she was a trapped prisoner. During that time, she's deprived of food, she's tortured physically, she's waterboarded in the family bathtub, and she's interrogated for hours on end because Sabrina has this idea in her head that Sophie and Mark are in a relationship, and that that they're both abusing the youngest child. Sophie's also whipped with cables as well. They spend hours and hours every day interrogating her, and trying to get her to confess to all of these crazy fake allegations and accusations that just aren't true. And they actually recorded a lot of them, which were played in court at trial. I don't have any of the audio, it hasn't been released, but I do have the transcripts. They were put in an article, and so I'm going to leave them in the description for anyone to go and read them if they want. I tried figuring out a way to read them, but it would just be me talking, and I don't think it would make sense unless there was 2 or 3 people helping out. So we'll just leave it at that for now, but I will leave the link so you can go and read them. So yeah, these idiots, absolute idiots, record some of these sessions on their phone. So the police find those sessions, and so that's really great sort of proof for them. Now, there's something else that you see that really proves what had happened to this poor girl. And so I'm going to put it on the screen now. This is a photo of Sophie. It's the last photo of her alive. And it was taken a few days before she was killed. When it comes up on the screen, you will see that she is a shell of a person. She is so skinny from being deprived of food. She just looks horrific. And this is the image that her family had to see. Her poor family. It's an image that either one of the couple took and had on their phone and shows, physically what they'd been doing with her for weeks and weeks. So it comes out in trial, which we'll get to in a minute. The trial starts on the 19th of March, but the night, it's either the 18th or the 19th that Sophie is killed. And we know this because the older child actually heard a lot of noise coming from the bathroom. And this is what Sabrina and Hussein would do. They would take her to the bathroom and interrogate her, and every time she didn't give an answer, he would dunk her head under the water and sort of almost drown her. So the child heard all of these noises and saw water coming out of the bathroom and was really concerned, and the next day asked his mum about what happened and where Sophie was, and the mum seemed very happy, the child said, and said that Sophie would never be back. She was gone forever. So they think that she died around the 18th or 19th of September 2017. The couple actually admit to having sex next to Sophie's body after she had died. It's just disgusting. And we'll take it one step further. They put her body into a suitcase and hide the suitcase under the bed of one of the children for a while. It's just awful. It's so awful. They decide after a couple of days to protect their family, as they say. They dispose of Sophie's body by burning her. And that's where the neighbour came in and sees the fire and reports it, and that's sort of how we get to where we are. So the trial begins 19th of March 2018, and over 3.5 months the trial spans. The prosecution think that the reason that this happened was because Sabrina was so obsessed with Mark and wanting sort of revenge on him that they had this plan all along to try and blackmail Mark. What prosecution thinks could be a scenario is that they were trying to get Sophie to confess so that they could, hey Tori, they're trying to get Sophie to confess so they could actually take that recording to Mark and to blackmail him for money, because basically she would have been saying that he was a pedophile. But obviously that didn't happen. I think the prosecution think that maybe Sabrina and Hussein thought that they'd taken it too far with the torture of poor Sophie, so they decided to end her life there. So actually I do have a screenshot I want to show you. So I found this as I was searching, and this is from the 15th of September 2017, and it's from a friend to Sabrina. Hey, redacted, how are you? Does your au pair have any friends that would like to come and work for us? I'm all out of options and would rather have one person that I can develop into the role. They will get travel opportunities and great benefits. Sabrina says back, hi, hun. I'm afraid no, and I don't have a nanny anymore. She's back to France. Honey, give you advice. Please, please, please don't let your little redacted with any stranger, please. Everything can wait. Take care. Lots of love. And the response, "Hey, honey, sounds like it didn't end well then." And then she just sort of talks about what she wants. But that was the 15th of September, so that's really interesting because that's several days before Sophie was killed. So they're already saying that. Jace worries the children. The youngest is 4. Mark, that's the child between Mark and Sabrina, and the eldest was 9 at the time, I believe. And yeah, so the trial ends on the 26th of June, 2018, 3 months later, and both are found guilty. The thing that's really hard is that our systems, the British system, and Australia and Canada use it as well, it's so different from America's, and so a lot of you are going to be shocked with the amount of time they got. They were given life imprisonment, which is a minimum of 30 years, and each with an additional 5.5 years for the destruction of Sophie's body. So the minimum is 35 years they each receive. They did both appeal their sentence, and obviously that was rejected. Now, Sabrina did write a letter as well, which is really, I can't wait to read it and see what you guys think about it, because it's really interesting. Oh, sorry, I just muted myself. It's a really interesting letter. Let me just take a drink first. I'm used to going live, so my throat's sore. I think that the abuse happened when the children were asleep at night time. The oldest child obviously heard, most likely, Sophie being tortured. She heard her parents screaming at Sophie and Sophie crying, and that was actually used in court as a way as evidence of a witness, which was really really helpful in convicting them. So this is what Sabrina writes. It's just so insane to me. Sabrina writes, "Dear Sophie, may peace be with you. First of all, I wish everyone, especially her parents and family, well. All are suffering. How deeply sorry I am for what happened, and in fact, we shared many good times. Sophie, I am shocked and sad that you are not part of this world anymore. It feels like a horrible dream to me that I wish I could wake up from. I am suffering every day thinking of you and what happened to you, and I wish I could turn the clock back on what happened and you could still be alive today. Sophie, I wish things could have been different, that you rest in peace, and that you rest in peace with a God." That letter just makes me so angry. I am suffering every day thinking of you. This is all her fault. There has to be, Sabrina has to suffer some sort of mental health issue, because how could you create this fake story, torture an innocent girl who has nothing to do with the lies that you've made up, and kill her? And you're saying that you suffer? It's just so, it made me so angry. I've also got a photo coming up of the bathroom. This is the family bathroom. This is the bathroom that Sophie was tortured in and partially drowned in, which is just, you've got all of these children's bath toys, and this is where she was hurt and possibly killed in. It's really sad. I also do have their address. I was thinking we can go and have a little look on Google Earth and have a little look at that. But that is the sad story of Sophie Lionnet, the au pair that was killed by Sabrina and Hussein. It's just a horrible, horrible case. Horrible case. And they don't seem to really care what they did. at all. And her poor family having to know what happened to her, and to see that photo and know that that was the last photo ever taken of her as well is really sad. So if anyone wants to go and respectfully stalk it, the address of where this happened is 14 Wimbledon Park Road. There were 2 kids. So the youngest was about 4. That was the child between Sabrina and Mark. And then there was an older child about 9, and we don't know who the father is. And obviously children haven't been identified. I will also leave a link in the description of an interview that Mark did with Good Morning Britain, the same year that this all happened, or the trial happened. And he sort of just talks about how he now has to live with the fact that they used Kim as an excuse to torture this young girl. You know, he had no idea who she was, and that he feels just awful for it. The restaurateur that knew that Sabrina had hit Sophie feels guilty because he wishes he'd done something sooner. One of the neighbours says she feels guilty because she knew something was up, but she didn't say anything. But really, the people to blame here are the 2 killers, and Sabrina was apparently very controlling and was sort of the mastermind behind all of this, and not innocent like she claims. They both pleaded not guilty, and they both blamed each other. Wasim actually changed his plea. He'd confessed to it to the police, but when trial came around, they both pled not guilty and blamed each other for the death. They also tried to get their sentence reduced, but obviously that didn't happen. So they're in prison, and they will be there for another 30 or so years, and hopefully they stay there the whole time. I think they should have gotten more time, to be perfectly honest with you. 6 to 8 weeks of torturing this poor girl is just horrendous. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. So yeah, that is the story of Sophie Lionnet, and I feel so horrible for her. It's just prolonged torture. And what happened on that last night is that apparently she did confess, because she was just so tired and weak and sick of saying no, that she didn't do it, that she said that she did it and wrote that confession, and that angered them so much because they finally got their proof that they killed her. So she had no chance. Yeah, Pony Rides, there's a couple of I think there's 2 documentaries on YouTube about this. I wanted to do like just a little informal chat about the case. Usually I do sort of more professional style edited videos, but I thought I would do, for the next couple of weeks, just do a casual retelling of a crime that you might not have heard of before. So yeah, that's the story. I don't think I've missed anything out. Let me just go and have a look. No word on where the children are now. Mark was actually, when all this happened, he'd been living in America for a year. So, and I think that Sabrina had full custody of the child. So I don't know whether maybe the children went to live together somewhere. I hope that they're doing okay, especially the 9-year-old who heard Sophie crying. That's just really, really horrible. No, I think I've mentioned everything. Yep, I did. Just can't believe that letter that Sabrina wrote either. It's just ridiculous. Thanks, Pony Rides. If there's any... Oh, I just quit. If there's any other cases that you want me to do like a casual retelling of, please let me know, because I think that for now I might do this until and then just do little tiny edited videos. I did put up a video on what was it? I put a video up on Michelle Troconis. She's made a statement. So there's a quick 3-minute video up on YouTube if you want to go and have a little look at what she says and then chat with me in the comments about that. And if there's any other cases you're interested in, just shoot me an email or leave it in the comments as well. But I'm going to wrap it up here because I actually have to go and rescue a bunny. So I know I haven't been on for very long, but I'm going to come back slow and steady. And I have to go and rescue a bunny. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can join membership, and I will be posting a little video later on today to show you the bunny that I'm going to pick up. Don't forget also to join the All Things True Crime Facebook group. We post in there every day about what's going on with current cases. So I might not do as many videos about current cases, but we're posting in that group a lot about them. And don't forget, if you're new here, to please subscribe or follow, depending on what platform you're on, so that you don't miss the next live or upload. Thank you so much for the support, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.